Fadi, good morning to you. Thanks for getting up oh so early to talk to us on Capital Connection. I want to kick off by asking you, given the events of the last several weeks, do you think that Saudi Arabia made a big mistake in terms of holding out and trying to get those cuts?
Hi, good morning, Hanley. Good morning to the viewers. Actually, I do not believe that. The cut that was expected between Saudi and Russia initially, that was about 1.5 million barrels, wouldn't have tilted any balance considering the big drop in demand, the sharp drop in demand as a result of COVID-19. We're talking about 25 to 35 million barrels of excess supply today in the market, actually yesterday in the market. And that cut that just came now was trying to temper down that kind of mismatch between supply and demand. So if you look at things in perspective, I do not believe that cut was a big mistake. On the other hand, if you look at, so it's also not about Saudi only. There's also the Russian that has a big say in this one. And there was also a potential theory that the Russians also were considering getting the shale producer out of the market on the long run. But once you see the Fed's action and how...
Fadi, honey, we got to negative prices. I mean, something that's completely unheard of. Frankly, something that this part of the world, maybe not Saudi Arabia, but I can tell you sitting right here in the UAE, nobody was very happy about how we've seen this situation play out. I mean, negative prices. And you're going to tell me they didn't make a big mistake? That the Saudi energy minister didn't blow it here?
Well, it is not a supply mistake. It is actually a big demand shock, and it's also a WTI negative price. It's not a Brent, so it's also a U.S. shale-related and storage-related as well to an extent, in addition to some, how you say, long cover, what they call a long covering, long squeeze, if you want, on inventory as well that happened. So it was not about a demand supply, whether you cut an extra million or 2 or 5 million. It would not have made any difference for that on that day. I think there's a big misconception on the WTI movement that day as a result of supply. Supply cuts would have not made any difference to this.
What is going to be the impact, Dan, on the Saudi economy? Stanchart saying that over 2020, the economic contraction is going to be around about 4.5%, and this is coming off the previous estimate for growth of 5%. What do you expect and estimate?
Well, listen, the jury's still out because we're still actually half of mid-year. We're not even there, and oil has dropped sharply. And we know very well that oil is a big foundation now. Thankfully, the diversification program that was initiated a few years ago will start paying off. That being said, we still let us not kid ourselves. We still need oil, and oil revenue is critical for Saudi Arabia. So the fiscal levers that the Saudi do have and do enjoy are still many. They still have their reserve. They tapped into their reserve this year. We're talking about a short of $400 billion. Their debt capacity is 20%, 22%. Their current debt to GDP is 22%. They got an approval to go to 50 if need be. We may get to 40 this year, which is a lot. But we're still short of a lot of other developed and developing economies that are running 100, 120% debt to GDP, be it the United States or other European countries today and so on. So considering the exceptional circumstances, the financial levers, the fiscal levers that Saudi do enjoy are still many. They definitely have to use them very carefully. They definitely have to embark on their privatization program and push further the private sector to alleviate the fiscal pressure that the government may suffer from wages and so on and projects. But I think they still have, I would say, a lot of wiggle room, if you want.
In terms of that wiggle room, Fadi, I want you to expand on that, obviously, because there's been a lot of praise for the country's finance minister and his handling of this situation, as well as the G20, frankly. But when you think about this more broadly with regards to the private sector, the non-oil private sector inside the kingdom, what does the government have to do to keep that program on track? Because they were looking to growth, and we're doing quite well so far with regards to the 2030 vision, as you were saying. But this has got to put a major spoke in the wheel.
Oh, you're absolutely right. You needed the oil economy to fuel the non-oil economy and to transition. Ultimately, that's the plan of the government. That being said, when you have an oil barrel at $20, $25, and they may run for the next 6, 12, 18 months, God knows, you have a lot of pressure. And the pressure is actually to expedite your program, specifically on many of the verticals that they have started. One of them would be the privatizations, for example. We've seen a couple of them that were successful. There's a lot more to do to get the privatization is a double benefit for Saudi. On one hand, it does alleviate the wage scale, the government's wage scale, if you want, which represents about 50-55% of your budget anyway. And the second thing is making also the economy much more efficient and having the private sector participate actively into the economy, which is something that when the U.S. does a stimulus, it goes straight to the private sector. In Saudi today, it's actually going to offset, if you want, the wage bill of the Saudi government, which is quite hefty, and it's more centered on oil today. So I think this is the biggest challenge to do, and this is what I shall hope so, and I'm pretty confident they will expedite.
Fadi, before I let you go, you're sitting in a place that's very, very dear to my heart, and there are a lot of questions I could go with here. But just one final question for you on what's happening, state of play in Lebanon today. Do you think that they're going to find a way to oust the central bank governor? Is that the answer to what's happening in that country?
Well, let's put it this way. The central bank governor is one of the pillars of the establishment in Lebanon. Him falling alone means very little, means nothing. I mean, if you don't change the whole political system and the whole, I don't want to say the whole political system, and the people behind the political system. He's just one of the pillars, and he was the financial pillar. But there's a lot more, way more important as well on the corruption side. So I do not believe that today changing the governor of the central bank will change anything if you don't do drastic changes into the establishment and the political system in Lebanon.